Dr. Hannah Kim touched her headset nervously as she watched a massive alien ship fill their viewing screen. The vessel called Serenity's Dawn was unlike anything humans had ever built. Where human ships were all sharp angles and metal plates, this alien craft looked alive. Its surface curved and flowed like a living thing, glowing with soft blue and green lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. "I can't believe this is really happening," whispered Captain Junho Park beside her. He was trying to sound calm, but Hannah could hear the excitement in his voice. After 3 months of radio messages back and forth across space, they were finally going to meet the Zephyrian Collective face-to-face. The human research ship Discovery was tiny compared to the alien vessel. As the two ships moved closer together, Hannah felt her stomach flutter with nerves. She had studied alien contact procedures for years, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. Every human on the ship was making history. The docking process was smooth and quiet. Through the thick windows, Hannah watched mechanical arms extend from both ships to create a sealed tunnel between them. Red lights turned to green. The airlock hissed open. The first Zephyrian to step aboard their ship took Hannah's breath away. The being was tall and thin, almost floating as it moved. Its skin looked like colored glass, shifting from pale blue to warm yellow as it looked around the human ship. Behind it came 5 more aliens, all moving with the same graceful, flowing motion that made human walking look clumsy and rushed. "Greetings," said the lead Zephyrian in perfect English. A small device on its chest was translating its words. "I'm Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective. We are honored to meet humanity at last." Captain Park stepped forward and shook the alien's hand carefully. The Zephyrian skin felt cool and smooth, like touching water. "Welcome aboard the Discovery Ambassador. We're excited to learn about your civilization." The alien skin colors brightened to warm golden orange. Hannah realized this must mean they were pleased or happy. She made a mental note to pay attention to the color changes. For the next several hours, both species shared information about their cultures. The humans showed the aliens their music, playing everything from classical symphonies to modern pop songs. Dr. Minho Lee presented their art, from ancient cave paintings to digital sculptures. The Zephyrians listened politely, their skin staying in pleasant yellow and green shades. Captain Park was eager to show their guests what humanity had accomplished. He played videos of the first moon landing, the building of space stations, and the first human colonies on Mars. The aliens watched with what seemed like genuine interest, asking questions about how humans had developed their technology so quickly. But Hannah began to notice something strange. When Dr. Lee started sharing human stories and literature, the aliens' behavior changed. He told them about the Odyssey, the ancient Greek tale of a hero's long journey home. He explained how humans loved stories about people surviving impossible situations and overcoming great challenges. He showed them clips from movies about war, adventure, and conquest. The Zephyrian skin colors slowly shifted from warm yellows to cooler blues and grays. Their large, dark eyes seemed to study the humans more carefully. They asked fewer questions and spent more time looking at each other. "Your entertainment often features conflict and violence," Ambassador Veltar observed during a break between presentations. His skin had turned a dull blue-gray color. Captain Park laughed. "Well, yes, conflict makes for good storytelling. It's how we explore what it means to be human. We like stories about people who fight against the odds and win." "And you find this inspiring?" another Zephyrian asked. "Of course," the captain replied. "Struggle makes us stronger. Competition pushes us to achieve more than we thought possible." The silence that followed felt uncomfortable. The aliens exchanged looks, their skin colors shifting to deeper, darker shades. Hannah couldn't read their expressions, but something had clearly changed in the room. The rest of the day continued, but the mood was different. The Zephyrians remained polite, but they seemed more distant. They asked careful questions about human history, focusing on wars, conflicts, and how humans had spread across their planet and into space. Their skin stayed in those cooler, more muted colors. That evening, after the aliens had returned to their ship, Hannah stood at her small cabin window looking out at Serenity's dawn star. The alien vessel's lights were pulsing in rapid patterns, flashing in sequences that looked almost like a conversation. She watched for nearly an hour as the lights blinked and shifted, clearly sending some kind of message. She wondered what the aliens were talking about. Had the cultural exchange gone well? Did the Zephyrians like humans? Something about their behavior changed during the day bothered her, but she couldn't put her finger on exactly what it was. In the alien ship, Ambassador Veltar was indeed sending an urgent message to his superiors back home. The communication was simple but alarming. First contact assessment complete. Humans show expected behavioral patterns. They may be what we have long feared. Recommend immediate implementation of psychological evaluation protocols. The message traveled through space at light speed, carrying news that would change the fate of both species forever. Captain Junho Park pulled at his dress uniform one more time as their small shuttle got closer to Harmony Station. The massive space station looked like someone had connected dozens of huge metal balls together and set them spinning slowly in space. Each ball was as big as a city, and through the clear walls he could see gardens, buildings, and thousands of different creatures walking around inside. "Look at that," whispered Dr. Hanakim, pressing her face to the window. "It's like a whole world floating in space." Communications Officer Kwon Seo was busy checking their translation equipment for the third time. "Everything looks good. We should be able to understand most of what they say." As their shuttle docked with one of the smaller sections, a new Zephyrian was waiting for them. This one was different from Ambassador Veltar. Her skin showed calm blue swirls, and she moved with the same flowing grace they had seen before. "Welcome to Harmony Station," she said with a gentle smile. "I am Counselor Nereath. You will be our guest during the integration assessment period." Kwon frowned. "Assessment? Nobody mentioned an assessment." "Oh, it is just standard procedure," Nereath said smoothly. "We help new species learn about galactic customs while we learn about yours. Think of it as a friendly orientation program." The humans were given beautiful rooms in what their guide called the diplomatic section. Each room had large windows looking out into space, comfortable furniture, and everything they could need. It felt more like a luxury hotel than anything else. The week that followed was filled with activities. Every day brought shared meals where the aliens asked lots of questions about human food and cooking. They seemed particularly interested when Captain Park mentioned that humans had once been hunters, chasing animals across long distances to catch them for food. "How fascinating," said one alien researcher, making notes on a strange glowing tablet. "And you still enjoy this hunting activity?" "Some people do," Park replied. "It's more of a sport now, but it teaches patience and strategy." The aliens looked at each other when he said this. Their skin colors shifted to cooler shades. They played a game that was supposed to be fun, but Hannah noticed there were actually tests. The games measured how quickly humans could solve puzzles, how they reacted under pressure, and how they made decisions when competing against others. The humans usually won these games, but their victories seemed to make the aliens uncomfortable rather than impressed. Dr. Hannah Kim enjoyed talking with the alien scientists about biology and how different species had evolved. But she began to notice something odd about their conversations. Whenever she mentioned how quickly humans could adapt to new environments, the aliens would exchange worried looks. When she talked about how humans had spread to every continent on Earth, even the coldest and hottest places, several aliens would quietly leave the room. The strangest moment came during a group problem-solving exercise. The scenario was about food shortages affecting several space colonies. Representatives from different alien species were there too, some that looked like living crystals, others that were almost see-through and floated in the air, and several other types Hannah had never seen before. All the alien species immediately started talking about how to share resources fairly and help each other. They discussed sending food from wealthy colonies to poor ones and working together to find new food sources. The humans approached the problem completely differently. Captain Park started calculating which colonies were most important strategically. Hannah figured out which ones had the most valuable resources. Kwon worked out backup plans for what to do if the food shortage led to conflicts between colonies. "This is interesting," murmured Dr. Zethkhan, an alien with 6 arms who was taking detailed notes. "Your species immediately thinks about competition and conflict instead of cooperation." "Well, you have to be realistic," Captain Park said. "Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. What if some colonies refuse to share their food? What if desperate people start fighting? You need to be ready for anything." Dr. Zethkhan's skin turned a deep purple color. Hannah had learned that this meant the alien was very worried or upset about something. That night, Quan was having trouble sleeping and decided to test their communication equipment. As he scanned through different frequencies, he picked up encrypted messages between the aliens. The translation program could only understand parts of it, but what he heard made him feel cold. Predatory instincts confirmed. Threat assessment escalation required. Recommend Protocol 7 consideration. The next morning at breakfast, Hannah asked Counselor Nereath about Protocol 7, trying to sound casual. "What exactly is Protocol 7?" she asked. "We heard someone mention it yesterday." For a few seconds, all the color drained completely out of Nereath's skin. She looked like a glass statue. Then the calm blue pattern slowly returned, but they looked forced and unnatural. "Oh, that is just administrative procedures," Nereath said, but her voice sounded strained. "Nothing that concerns our guests." But Hannah noticed changes after that conversation. When they wanted to explore different parts of the station, there was always a reason why that section was closed or under repair. The alien guides never left them alone anymore, and whenever they entered a room, conversations between aliens would suddenly stop. Something was definitely wrong, but none of the humans could figure out exactly what it was. Deep inside Harmony Station, in a room filled with glowing crystals and humming machines, something that wasn't quite alive was doing the most important job it had ever been given. Keth 9 was an artificial mind, a computer consciousness that could think faster than any living being. Its body was made of special crystals that sparkle with energy, and its thoughts moved at the speed of light. The Collective Council had given Keth 9 a simple but crucial task: learn everything possible about humans and figure out if they were dangerous. Keth 9 started by reading through all the information humans had shared about themselves. They had given the aliens access to their history books, their movies, their music, and even their old archaeological records. The artificial mind absorbed all of this data in seconds, processing thousands of years of human history faster than a human could read a single page. What Keth 9 discovered made its crystalline core grow cold with worry. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy had developed the same way. They had learned to work together, share resources, and solve problems as a group. They had evolved to be peaceful because cooperation helped them survive better than fighting. Humans were completely different. According to their own records, humans had started as persistence hunters. This meant they chased animals for hours and hours until the prey collapsed from exhaustion, then killed them. No other species in known space had evolved this way. Human intelligence had not developed to make friends or build communities. It had developed to hunt more efficiently. The artificial mind read through human history and found war after war after war. Humans had been fighting each other constantly for thousands of years. Every time they invented something new, they found a way to use it as a weapon. They had turned chemistry into poison gas, biology into disease weapons, and even information into tools for psychological warfare. But the fighting wasn't the most disturbing part. What scared Keth 9 was how humans reacted to fighting. They didn't just fight and then give up when things got hard. They learned. They adapted. They took their enemies' best ideas and made them even better. They came out of every war stronger and smarter than before. Humans were the only species that had survived multiple extinction events. When volcanoes covered their planet in ash, they adapted. When ice ages froze their world, they found ways to stay warm. When diseases killed millions, the survivors became resistant. Instead of dying out like most species would, humans always found a way to survive and grow stronger. Keth 9 analyzed human entertainment and found more troubling patterns. Their stories and movies were full of characters who succeeded by being clever, ruthless, and willing to do whatever it took to win. Many human heroes would be considered dangerous criminals by other species standards, but humans celebrated them. The artificial mind then studied video recordings from the recent cultural exchanges on Harmony Station. What it discovered was deeply unsettling. When humans smiled and acted friendly, their body language and brain scans showed they were completely relaxed. They could lie without any stress at all. Even when they seemed genuinely like the aliens they were talking to, part of their brain was always analyzing weaknesses and looking for advantages. Humans saw everything as either a potential weapon or a potential resource. When they entered a new room, they automatically identified escape routes and defensive positions. When they met new people, they instinctively evaluated threats and opportunities. Every environment was a puzzle to be solved and controlled. Keth-9 compiled all of this information into a detailed report. But before sending it to the Council, the artificial mind decided to run one final search through the galaxy's oldest historical records. These ancient files were heavily restricted and contained information about the galaxy's darkest periods. What Keth-9 found in those restricted archives made its entire crystalline structure vibrate with alarm. The search results were an exact match: predatory intelligence, adaptive evolution, weaponization instincts, persistence hunting psychology. There had been a species exactly like humans in the ancient past. The old records called them the Devourers. They had started on one world, just like humans. They had developed space travel, just like humans. And then they had begun consuming everything they could reach. The Devourers had completely stripped 3 entire star systems of resources. They had enslaved or destroyed dozens of other species. The young collective had fought a desperate war against them that lasted 200 years and killed billions of beings across the galaxy. In the end, the collective had won, but only by completely destroying the Devourer species. Every single one of them had been killed to prevent them from spreading further across the galaxy. Now, thousands of years later, the same type of species had evolved again. The humans weren't just another intelligent race seeking to join galactic civilization. They were the return of the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Keth-9 attached a priority code to its report that hadn't been used in over 1,000 years. The message was simple but terrifying: species-level extinction threat confirmed. The artificial mind sent the report to the Collective Council and waited. Soon, very difficult decisions would have to be made about humanity's future. Dr. Hyun-Woo knelt in the red dust of the dead planet, watching his scanner beep as it analyzed the strange ruins around him. The planet Kepler 442c was supposed to be just another archaeological site, a place where humans and aliens could work together to study ancient history. But something felt wrong about this place from the moment they had landed. "These buildings are amazing," called Dr. Yuna from across the dig site. She was standing near what looked like the remains of a huge city center. Whoever built this was very advanced, but the materials are strange. I've never seen anything like this. Their alien partner, Dr. Merenthak, floated above them on thin, gossamer wings. She belonged to a species called the Whispertouch, beings that looked almost like living mist. Her form kept changing color, shifting between pale blue and worried purple. "This world has always been difficult for my people to study," Merenthak said, her voice soft and musical. "There are psychic echoes here, bad feelings that seem to come from the stones themselves." Captain Beam looked up from his own equipment. "What kind of bad feelings?" "Violence," the alien whispered. "Anger, aggression. It soaks into everything here." Hyun-Woo activated his deep scanning equipment, sending electronic pulses down through layers of dirt and rock to see what lay beneath. When the results appeared on his screen, he felt his breath catch. The ruins weren't just one city. They were the remains of massive industrial complexes that had once covered entire continents. "Look at this," he called the others over. "These aren't just buildings. See these patterns? These are factories, manufacturing plants. And these larger structures, they look like weapon production facilities." Dr. Yuna studied the scanner data with growing concern. The energy readings show they completely stripped this planet of resources. They mined everything: metals, minerals. Even the atmosphere shows signs of industrial processing. They consumed their entire world. As they dug deeper and scanned more areas, the picture became clearer and more disturbing. The architecture showed signs of rapid, aggressive expansion. Everything was built for efficiency and speed, not beauty or comfort. The remains suggested a species that had developed space travel not to explore or learn, but to take resources from other worlds. They found evidence of orbital weapons platforms designed to destroy planets from space. Colony ships that weren't meant for peaceful settlement, but for invasion and conquest. Launch facilities that could send thousands of ships across the galaxy. Dr. Merenthak's ethereal form grew more and more agitated as they worked. Her colors shifted to deep purples and blacks, and she began to tremble in the air. "The psychic echoes are getting stronger," she said, her voice barely audible. "I can feel their emotions. Ambition, greed, an endless hunger to possess everything they could see." That evening, as they sat in their temporary camp organizing their findings, Dr. Yuna made a discovery that changed everything. She was examining some bone fragments they had found in the ruins, running them through the portable analysis equipment. "Hyun, you need to see this," she said, staring at her screen. "These skeletal remains, they are bipedal, about the same height as humans. And look at the skull structure, forward-facing eyes, suggesting they were predators." Hyun-woo took the bone samples and ran them through his more advanced genetic analysis program. When the results appeared, he felt the blood drain from his face. The screen showed a 94.7% genetic match with human DNA. "That's impossible," Captain Beam said, looking over their shoulders. "Humans evolved on Earth. We had a complete evolutionary record. We know where we came from." "Not impossible," Dr. Merenthak whispered, her form now pulsing with what could only be described as terror. "Convergent evolution, when similar environments create similar species on different worlds." But Hyun-woo was already running more tests, comparing the tools they had found, the weapon designs, even the architectural patterns. Everything matched human preferences and thinking patterns. This extinct species hadn't just looked like humans. They had thought like humans, built like humans, and fought like humans. He looked up at Dr. Merenthak and suddenly understood why she and the other aliens had been so tense during this expedition. They weren't just studying ancient ruins. They were showing the humans what their own species might become. "Dr. Merenthak," Eunice said quietly, "what happened to them? The species that built all this?" The alien's form shimmered and flickered, colors shifting rapidly between fear and sadness. When she spoke, her voice was so quiet I could barely hear her. "We killed them," she whispered. "All of them. Every single one." The silence that followed felt heavy and cold. The humans stared at their alien colleague, trying to process what she had just said. "We had to," Merenthak continued, her form now completely colorless. "They were consuming everything, destroying entire star systems, enslaving other species. They couldn't be stopped any other way." Hyun-woo looked around at the dead ruins, understanding finally washing over him. This wasn't just an archaeological site. It was a warning. The aliens had brought them here to show them the fate of the last species that had been exactly like humanity. The question now was, what did the collective plan to do about it? Dr. Hannah Kim had never been in a room like this before. The chamber was perfectly round like a giant bowl, and she felt like she was floating in the center of space itself. All around her, representatives from 12 different alien species arranged themselves according to how their bodies worked. Some floated in the air, others swam through thick liquid environments, and a few stood on solid platforms like the humans did. At the center of the room, a huge holographic display showed everything they had discovered on the dead planet, along with detailed information about human history and behavior. Captain Junho Park sat beside her at a table that felt uncomfortably like the place where criminals sit during a trial, even though no one had officially called this a trial. Ambassador Veltar was there too, and his skin was showing deep red colors that Hannah now knew meant he was very upset or afraid. "The evidence cannot be argued with," announced High Counselor Ermeth, an ancient alien whose voice sounded like it had been speaking for thousands of years. "Humanity represents a return of what our histories call the Devourers, a type of species we thought was gone forever." Dr. Hyun-woo leaned forward in his chair. "You're talking about convergent evolution, right? Similar species developing separately on different worlds." "No," said a voice that sounded like crystal bells ringing. It came from Keth-9, the artificial intelligence whose body looked like a collection of glowing crystals. "Analysis of your genetic patterns, your behavior, and your technology shows you are not just similar. You are the same phenomenon that almost destroyed galactic civilization 3,000 years ago." The holographic display changed, showing ancient records that made Hannah's stomach feel sick. Entire star systems stripped completely bare of resources. Billions of beings dead. Whole species wiped out not because of hatred, but because of an endless hunger to expand and take everything. The Devourers were not evil beings, Counselor Ermeth continued, her ancient eyes looking directly at the humans. They were simply incompatible with shared existence. They could not understand the idea of resources that shouldn't be taken, territories that shouldn't be conquered, or other species that weren't either threats to be destroyed or tools to be used. Captain Park's voice was calm, but Hannah could hear the anger underneath. "And so you killed them all." "After 2 centuries of war, yes, it was necessary." Dr. Yuna spoke up from beside Hannah. The collective isn't really a peaceful alliance, is it? It's a defensive agreement against species like us. The silence that followed told them everything they needed to know. Ambassador Veltar's skin shifted to pale blue, a color Hannah had learned meant reluctant honesty. The Galactic Collective was formed specifically to identify and manage species that showed devourer-type development patterns. We have prevented 17 such civilizations from achieving space travel over the past 3,000 years. Prevented, Hannah repeated, tasting the bitter word. You mean murdered? We prefer to say guided towards sustainable development, Keth 9 said, its crystal form pulsing with cold light. Most species underwent voluntary psychological modification. Some chose isolation within their own star systems. Others you exterminated, Captain Park finished. High Counselor Arameth nodded slowly. The survival of galactic civilization required difficult choices. Each time a species like yours developed, we faced the same decision. Allow them to spread and consume everything in their path, or stop them before they could. Dr. Hyun-woo stood up, his face pale. You're talking about genocide. You committed genocide 17 times. We have preserved the lives of trillions, the ancient counselor replied. The Devourer War taught us that some species cannot coexist with others. They will always expand, always consume, always compete until nothing else remains. Hannah looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching them. Some showed fear, others showed sadness, but none showed any sign that they disagreed with what was being said. You've been planning this from the beginning, she said quietly. The cultural exchanges, the behavioral assessments, bringing us to that dead planet, it was all to confirm what you already suspected. Ambassador Veltar's skin showed deep purple patterns of regret. We hoped we were wrong. We hoped humanity might be different. But every test, every interaction, every analysis confirmed our worst fears. Captain Park stood up slowly. So what happens now? You've already decided we're too dangerous to live, haven't you? You have a choice, High Counselor Arameth said. Submit to psychological modification that will remove your aggressive and competitive instincts while preserving your intelligence. Accept permanent quarantine within your solar system with no contact with other species. Oh! She didn't need to finish the sentence. The third option hung in the air like a death sentence. Dr. Yuna laughed bitterly. Those aren't really choices, are they? Stop being human, become prisoners, or die. It is more mercy than the original devourers received, Ket 9 said coldly. Hannah realized that everything had been decided long before this meeting. The collective had already made up their minds about humanity's fate. The only question now was whether humans would accept their judgment quietly or prove the aliens right by fighting back. As armed guard began moving toward the exits, Hannah understood that humanity was about to face the ultimate test of what they truly were.